Today, we are launching our series of devotionals on the book of James. We're going to do this as part of our wider look at biblical wisdom, because James is considered to be New Testament wisdom. It's written by Jesus' half-brother, James, and it details how a Christian's faith is made manifest in their thoughts and actions. James, like Proverbs, is a very practical book, and it's our hope and prayer that as we journey through it together, we may be equipped and inspired to live wise and godly lives. So, let's begin. James begins with the usual greeting in chapter 1, verse 1. Have a look. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nations, greetings. That's how he begins. And then in verses 2 to 4, he tells us this. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. What a brave way to start a letter. Hey, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. Trials of many kinds, this refers to either internal or external troubles of any variety. Spiritual, physical, psychological, relational, environmental, even pandemical, if that's a word. And the trials James is talking about can refer to anything in your life that is unwelcomed or unanticipated. I'm sure you can make a list pretty quickly of things that you would consider trials, things that you find terribly distressing, all the way down to mildly inconvenient, especially in 2020, right? And here, James has the audacity to tell us to consider these trials pure joy that is complete, utter, overflowing joy. And on first impressions, James looks at best naive and at worst, insensitive. But what if he's more switched on than he appears? What if there is a way of looking at our lives that allows us to see trials as less inconvenient and more useful, less harmful and more beneficial, less devastating and more joyous? Well, James says there is. And it all revolves around our goal for our lives. Because if we desire to grow in happiness, wealth, experiences, our ability to live the dream, then we will always see trials as an inconvenience, as a roadblock to our thriving. Because they are. They stop you from being rich and happy and healthy and living the dream. They are a roadblock. But if our goal is spiritual maturity, we're able to view our trials, as James says, as pure joy. Look again at verses 3 and 4. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. See, if the goal of our life is to be spiritually mature, we can have joy in our suffering. Because our suffering helps us to persevere, and our perseverance matures us. Now, there is a difference between rejoicing in suffering and rejoicing for suffering. James isn't telling us to rejoice for our sufferings and go seeking them in some sort of masochistic way, but he is telling us to rejoice in the midst of our sufferings. Acknowledging the pain, yes. Acknowledging the discomfort, the inconvenience, and even the heartbreak, but having an eternal perspective. Knowing the refining power of suffering and rejoicing in it, through it. As Spurgeon said, I have learned to kiss the wave that throws me against the rock of ages. So what's God's wise advice through James for us today? He tells us that when we prioritize our spiritual maturity, we can count even our trials as joys, because they are leading us to our goal of becoming more like Christ. Go in peace.